Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hey everyone, I'm Chahyanti Choliffah. Here I will do my segment. Let's start with the topic teaching English for young learner. There are some important of teaching English to young learners, such as the onset of foreign language learning, the greater the chance for language proficiency. The learner have great opportunity to have native like pronunciation, improving overall school performance, and superior problem-solving skill. Development of lifelong ability to communicate with more people, better understanding of other cultures. On the other hand, teaching to young learner will be failed if the teacher are not able to provide them with pleasant learning situation that the teacher may lead young learner into feeling of hate toward the language. So this is concept of teaching English to young learner. Teaching English to young learner is very important as an effort to prepare them from an early age in mastering English. The earlier they know and like English, the greater the chance they will master it more easily later. There are several concepts in teaching English for young learner. The first is concept of time. In English, when we are about to say something, it is very important to pay attention to the adverb of time because the adverb of time itself will affect the sentence pattern or tenses that we will use both in speaking and writing. Therefore, it is very important for young learner to learn the use of tenses. The second is concept of grammar. Many people say that mastering grammar is difficult. So many people think that it's better to learn speaking and writing than grammar. Even though, but in speaking and writing, we still need grammar. In English, if we use the wrong grammar, it will change the meaning of the sentence we say or we write. When learning grammar, we are thought to be good communicator, listener, thinker, reader, and writer. Understanding grammar is mandatory for young learners so that there are no mistake in pronunciation or writing a sentence. The third is concept of vocabulary. In learning English, this is last thing also has a very important role. By having a lot of vocabulary, it is easier for us to express the content of our thought both orally in writing. The less vocabulary we have, the more difficult it is for us to understand and express the content of our minds. Young learners must increase their vocabulary so that they can easily express their thoughts. Young learners are different from old learners, of course. They are unique, they have smart brain which is fresh, clean, and fast. Most of them are attractive. For the teacher who concerned in teaching English to young learner, they have to understand the characteristic of young learner. In order understanding, the student needs knowing the suitable method to teaching young learners. There are some characteristics of young learners. The first is they have particular point of view. The second is they can describe the difference between fact and fiction. The third is they are curious of asking question. The fourth is they believe of what is said and the real word to express and comprehend meaning or message. 5. They have distinct option about what they like and what they dislike. The 6. They are open to what happened in the classroom and begin asking the teacher decision. And the last, they can cooperate with other people and learn from another. Based on this characteristic, we cannot say that children do not have any word, do not understand the old people, do not understand the environment. They are really can feel the environment around them, and they can say truth based on what they see and understand. The next is problem teaching English for young learner. The first, problem cognitive development. Young learners are in the middle of their psychological and social development from infancy to adulthood. Teacher must consider carefully in setting assignment and teaching materials. The teacher must make assignments and suitable materials young learner according to the state they are at. The second is problem motivation. There are several factors that influence the motivation of young learner in learning English, but keeping your learner motivated is an important thing. The students will be highly motivated once they know what they are expected to able to do after learning certain materials, as well as they think the could relate to the materials are. The next problem is getting the attention of young learner. Getting the attention of young learner during the teaching process is quite difficult. Therefore, the teacher must vary the activities in learning to attract the attention of young learner. Last but not least, in the problem of assigning value, that appraisal needed to know how well student in the learning process. Rating as an integral part of the learning process implies some goals that the teacher should have can decide whether student needs direct feedback as an assessment. The teacher must be very competent in assessing student. Teacher must be able to develop student language instead of focusing assessment to test them only. So this is the ways of teaching English for young learner. The first is turn lesson into songs. Turning vocabulary, grammar, and dialogue into a catchy tune is an excellent method for teaching English to young learners. Young learner will easily remember the vocabulary in the notes they hear. Their tunes or sample song out there that fit the materials being studied, or maybe we can make our songs that are easy to memorize. The second is weave in spontaneous or consistent dialogues. Natural dialogue also introduces students to everyday vocabulary relevant to their own life and interests. Asking what lunch was like, how the last football games was, or anything else they were excited to share will motivate them to talk and train for confidence. The third is break up solitary study session with games. Games are a very effective teaching method for young learners. Active play allows them to expend pent-up energy, and quiet play is challenging and requires concentration. With this game, your learner minds will be fresher. And the fourth is repeat the previous lesson. Assuming the average class duration is just an hour or less, that leaves plenty of time in the day to forget everything students have just learned. Children will not retain as much information as adults, so repetition is key in English for young learners. Okay, finally, let's make a conclusion. There are three concepts in teaching English. The first concept is concept of time. The second is concept of grammar. The third is concept of vocabulary. Giving assessment and learning materials must be in accordance with the characteristic of young learner. There are some problem of teaching English for young learner. The first is problem cognitive development. The second is problem motivation. The third is getting the attention of young learner. The fourth is assigning value. And the last is ways of teaching English. The first is turn lesson into song. The second is wave in spontaneous or consistent dialogue throughout the lesson. The third is break up solitary study session with games. The fourth is repeat the previous lesson in each class. So that's all for me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.